Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Meet La Prensa. Viewer, if you like what you see, if you find value here, be sure to hit like and subscribe. As you can see, we've upgraded our sound, we've upgraded our set design, but one thing we haven't upgraded yet is our broken immigration system. Here today to talk about that is our next guest, Jose Magaña-Salgado. Jose, thank you so much for joining Meet La Prensa.
Thanks for having me, Pablo.
So, Jose, you obviously are one of the most sort of connected and influential immigration advocates and attorneys that I've ever met in the country, in Washington, but probably in the country. Tell us, like, now that we've transitioned from the catastrophe that I think most people would agree the Trump administration was to the Biden administration, we're 100 days in. What would you say that they're getting right so far? Let's start with what they're getting right, and then we'll talk a little bit about what they're getting wrong.
Absolutely. Well, definitely some of the executive actions that they took shortly after office are going to hearten a lot of immigrants. Everything from refortifying DACA to issuing a TPS designation for Venezuela, affecting upwards of 300,000 people, to extending DED for Liberia, and essentially rescinding the prior administration's enforcement policies have led us to an administration whose deportation apparatus is not at full, but still being wound down. So there are still lots of opportunities for the Biden administration to deliver its promise to advocate on behalf of immigrants. We're certainly heartened that they've taken as a priority immigration legislation, that they've written a bill, that they've introduced it. But really, it's on the administration to make sure that it can constructively engage in any sort of bipartisan negotiations that emerge from those efforts, and or ensuring that the administration commits to providing relief for migrants in reconciliation as well.
So Bradley Jenkins and Amy Maldonado both mentioned TPS as something that the administration, could be doing. But what is DED for Liberia? That's new to us. What does DED stand for, and why are they focusing specifically on Liberia?
DED is called Deferred Enforced Departure. It's similar to TPS in that it provides a work permit and protection from deportation, but not statutorily based. Instead, it extends for the president's inherent executive authority. For Liberia, DED was granted because those folks were provided a roadmap to citizenship, but because of botched implementation by USCIS, a lot of those folks didn't get to apply on time for that adjustment of status. So this is essentially a bridge to help them obtain that permanent status. And while the administration has done some things on things like TPS and DED, on the TPS front, it still needs to do more. There's approximately 17 countries, all who warrant current country conditions for TPS. And if the administration were to designate and redesignate those 17 countries, that's 2.1 million undocumented immigrants with work permits. If it were to be even more bold and consider other things such as TPS for Mexico, that number would go up to 7.5 million. So we're going to continue to hold the administration accountable, because just because it's done some things doesn't mean it has done everything it needs to.
Bradley Jenkins from the Catholic Legal Immigration Network said basically that Joe Biden has a lot more policy levers that he can pull. And Amy Maldonado from Maldonado Law Firm said that that Joe Biden is getting it completely wrong on the border. What's your take, Jose? Like, where are the places that the administration can really improve at this now sort of 100-day mark for the new White House?
Well, while the administration has done some executive actions, it still can do more. In the context of TPS, there's about 17 countries or so that warrant an initial or redesignation of TPS that would protect upwards of 2.2 million people. If the administration was bold and considered things like TPS for Mexico because of the COVID-19 crisis, that number would skyrocket to 7.5 million. At the same time, this administration could have administratively expanded ACA access to DACA recipients. It has yet to do so. And at the same time, we see it consistently use the same authorities that the last administration used to expel migrants to similarly prevent lawfully seeking migrants who are here to avail themselves of the humanitarian promises that our law has made the international community. There's still an opportunity for this administration to fully turn the page on the Trump administration's anti-immigrant executive actions and policies, and it must do so at its earliest convenience.
So let's say that you walk outside right now, there's a black car outside your house, and that whisks you straight to the White House. And in the White House, there's Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, maybe Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security. What would you tell them? What would your pitch to the administration be?
I would say that the country spoke loudly and clearly in the last election, and that was that we rejected anti-immigrant demagogues and racist immigration policies. And it's really incumbent on the Biden administration to fully utilize that electoral mandate of so many people coming out and saying, stop expelling asylum seekers, let folks apply for humanitarian relief, restore some sort of fairness and order to our immigration system, and really take the steps to rebuild multiple immigration agencies, some of which have been hollowed out and others that have been transformed to do even more evil than they did before. And it's really important for the administration to select who goes into these positions, because personnel is policy. And we want to make sure that these rogue agencies, for the first time in a long time, step back and stop terrorizing the immigrant community.
Jose Magaña-Salgado, thank you so much for joining us here on Meet La Prensa. This has been, as always, an honor. It's always an honor to see you. You look great. I love the beard. Viewer, you can find Jose's Twitter handle in the description for this video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out if you find value here. And that's a wrap.